Hey guys, we are so excited to announce we are producing our own original content. Head over to The Trendy for the best DIYs, fashion tips, makeup hacks, and so much more. We are sure you're going to love it. And be sure to let us know what you think in the comment section. We love to hear from you. See you there. Even though it's a wealthy country, South Korea doesn't have all of the things both locals and tourists want to buy. From streetwear brands and Western food to hygiene products, you'll be surprised at what's unavailable. Just wait until you see how much counterfeit Supreme hoodies sell for. If this is your first time visiting our channel, make sure you subscribe, and while you're at it, check out our latest addition to the family The Trendy. Right now, let's look at 20 things you cannot buy in South Korea. Vetements. Luxury streetwear is one of the key things you cannot easily buy in South Korea. Hisnabaity's documentary found that brands like Vetements are almost impossible to get your hands on. Well, that's if you want the genuine article. If you're happy with the fake, then you'll find lots on offer. You'll also see the influence of Vetements in the work of young South Korean designers like Vetements and Hygiene. You might be wondering why counterfeits are so popular, especially when you consider that South Korea is the 14th largest economy in the world. Not only that, but Seoul is the 5th wealthiest city in the world, so it's clearly not an issue of price. Let's explain why in our next entry. Champion. If you're looking for champion streetwear in South Korea, then head to the cool districts of Apgujeong and Gangnam. But you won't find the real deal there. What you will find is lots of knockoffs, like belt material that looks exactly like grosgrain used in the Champion Vetements collaboration. Young South Koreans love to follow trends, whether that's in fashion, food, or lifestyle. And they're so into the trends that they'll buy the goods regardless of whether they're real or fake. The authenticity of the item isn't important, it's all about the look. While many counterfeit pieces have a replica label inside, there are a lot that don't even bother with that artifice, and yet they're still very popular. Saint Laurent. You're going to struggle to find genuine Saint Laurent clothing in South Korea, but if you head to the shops in Dongdaemun, you'll find copies. In fact, you'll find lookalikes of Saint Laurent jackets worn by celebrities like Justin Bieber. The main difference, however, is that the label has classic fashion instead of Saint Laurent written on it. This just goes to show that South Koreans don't need the label to wear the clothing. Even though they would ideally like to buy the genuine brands, there just isn't the supply available. And so the counterfeit culture exists because South Koreans like to follow trends. Thom Browne. As with Saint Laurent, you can find Thom Browne fakes in South Korea, but you'll struggle to find genuine fashion pieces from this designer. For example, you'll see a top that's totally Thom Browne style on the outside, but take a peek inside at the label and you'll see the words Form Hum. Similarly, you might see the designer's signature red, white, and blue stripes on a pair of shoes. Take a look inside, however, and the label says Boy London. These fakes fill the gap in the market to satisfy the desire for hyped streetwear brands. Raf Simons. Luxury brands like Raf Simons deliberately make less than they can sell, and this creates exclusivity. Because people in South Korea don't have access to these clothes, they buy fakes instead. This then becomes a catch-22 situation because there's such a counterfeit culture in South Korea, brands won't sell there. Big designer and streetwear brands have visited Seoul to scout for the possibility of opening stores there, but they decided not to because of the boom in the imitation business. If you want the real deal, you have to pay huge prices and buy from retailers that bring brands over from Japan. Bear in mind that prices in Japan are already twice as expensive as America. Balenciaga. If you're after Balenciaga in South Korea, then you might have to satisfy your sartorial desire with a local lookalike piece instead. Seoul's young designers were massively into Balenciaga in their recent collections. If you watch the runways of local talent like Vetements and 87mm, you'll see that they get a lot of inspiration from designer brands like Balenciaga and Vetements. This looking to the West is typical of the culture. The youth in South Korea have grown up in a more affluent society than their parents, and with this greater wealth comes a more consumerist attitude. Some argue that there's more of a superficial attitude too because of the obsession with trends. Stussy. You'll see knockoff Stussy fashion all over the clothing stalls in Seoul's trendiest districts, but you won't find the actual designer label. It's been argued that there's not really any discernible South Korean street style because of the ardent following of ever-changing trends, and the youth tend to follow what big stars like rappers G-Dragon and CL wear. This is actually an example of a very traditional part of the culture. Hierarchy is very important, and the culture requires submission to authority. While this was submission to elders in past times, it's now submission to the new music and TV stars that holds position of authority over the youth of today. OffWhite. This importance of hierarchy also leads to a very standardized look. South Korea has been described as a homogeneous country because of the importance of conformity. You only have to look at the popularity of plastic surgery to realize how vital it is for people to imitate a set look. South Koreans could have a perfectly good belt made without any nod to an American brand, but because their heroes favor streetwear brands like OffWhite, they'll want to follow their lead, even though they can't actually get a real OffWhite belt, because you can't easily buy that in South Korea. Instead, they'll have a belt custom made out of material that has a fake OffWhite logo printed across it. Sour Patch Kids. We've taken a good look at the counterfeit culture in South Korea and why you can't buy the genuine article when it comes to Western streetwear brands. We're now turning our attention to some of the American food products you'll find difficult to find in South Korea. For many American expats living in this country, the lack of genuine food products from home can increase the homesickness levels. Take, for example, that popular treat, Sour Patch Kids. You won't be able to enjoy that sour and sweet, soft, chewy candy, unless that is, you pack some in your bag before you leave home. Pop-Tarts. There are some popular American foods that aren't totally impossible to find in South Korea. This includes breakfast treats like Pop-Tarts, but you might as well file them under the heading of things you cannot buy in South Korea as they're so hard to get your hands on. And if you are lucky enough to find them, you have to pay a lot more than you would in the United States. That then makes them impractical as a daily part of your diet. Of course, there's the view that you should embrace the local culture and its food when you live abroad, but sometimes you just want a bit of home comfort, right? Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Like with Pop-Tarts, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are available in South Korea if you know exactly where to look, and if you're lucky enough to live near a shop that sells such American staples. But they're so unusual and so expensive that you won't be able to pick them up as easily as you would when living in the States. If you're wondering where to head to find Western food, you're best off sticking to the tourist areas, or going to the districts of Seoul where lots of expats live, like in Itaewon. These are the places where you'll find restaurants and shops offering non-Korean food. Beef jerky. Beef jerky is such a normal part of American snacking life, you can find it practically anywhere in the States. But this is not something you'll be able to enjoy in South Korea. It's interesting to consider what the locals enjoy as their snacking equivalent. In South Korea, it's dried squid. To be fair, you're probably just as likely to find dried squid in America as you are to find beef jerky in South Korea. Food is one of those interesting areas of life where you'll get a real insight into a culture and the difference between the cultures. In a country where tentacles are a popular foodstuff, of course you'll find dried squid. Cheez-it crackers. You'll find foreign food sections in some of the larger food marts in South Korea, but as you would expect, the choices are limited. Cheez-it crackers are one of the things that you'll struggle to buy in South Korea, and it's situations like this that make you realize how much you take your food for granted when you're not thousands of miles from home. You'll soon be searching online for how to order such snacks when you find the actual shops in your new neighborhood are severely lacking in these kinds of comfort food essentials. Kraft macaroni and cheese. Naturally, many branded products from North America and Europe are hard to come by in South Korea. You might occasionally find non-branded alternatives to give you a bit of a taste of that flavor, but if you're looking for something as specific as Kraft macaroni and cheese, prepare to be disappointed. This macaroni and cheese meal from the US and Canada is what comfort food is all about, but it's very difficult to get even your hands on this type of food in South Korea, let alone this specific branded variety. Deodorant. Let's take a different path now as we consider what other products aren't readily available in South Korea. We all know the popularity in the West of Korean beauty products, especially when it comes to skincare. But you know what isn't such a big deal in South Korea? Deodorant. You'll have to hunt it down in a specialty shop and you'll likely only find one option on the shelves. South Koreans don't really wear deodorant. Some people claim it's because of genes, while others claim it's because they don't have much meat or dairy in their diets. But whatever the reason, South Koreans don't seem to need to use deodorant, so good luck finding it. Minty toothpaste. Sticking with personal hygiene, we're on to toothpaste now. Unlike deodorants, toothpaste is something that South Koreans do typically use, but Westerners often can't stand the taste of Korean toothpaste. Expats are more used to the minty freshness of toothpaste made by the likes of Crest and Colgate. Although the US company Colgate-Palmolive is now in South Korea, that doesn't mean you'll find it easy to find your favorite toothpaste when you're out shopping in South Korea. Even when you do stumble across it, most likely in a foreign food specialty store, you'll discover the prices are sky high. Bath towels. Of course, people in South Korea use towels, and you can buy towels easily enough. But if you're used to big bath towels, as many Westerners are, then you'll do well to pack those in your suitcase. That's because South Koreans typically use small towels to dry themselves with. If you think about the typical size of the hand towel you use at home, that's comparable. Many travel bloggers who write about what to take with you to South Korea mention this point. Sure, you could probably find a large bath towel in an upmarket store if you knew exactly where to look, but it would be incredibly expensive, and you'll struggle to pick one up at any old place. Feminine hygiene products. There's been an outcry at the cost of sanitary pads in South Korea. Many young women on limited means have resorted to wrapping shoe insoles in tissues as an alternative. As a Westerner, the likelihood is you'll be able to afford sanitary napkins in South Korea and you'll find them easily enough, but you won't find tampons as easily. They're largely unpopular in Korea, like many other countries in Asia. In fact, Korea's Ministry of Food and Drug Safety released results of a survey in 2017 that showed that only 11% of women use tampons. So if you have a favorite brand, you're best off bringing it with you. And as for menstrual cups, well, you can forget about trying to find those. PayPal. And what about how to pay for things in South Korea? You're probably used to using your PayPal account for lots of online purchases. Well, you won't be able to do that in South Korea. That's because you can't add a South Korean address to your non-South Korean PayPal account. So if you're from the US or the UK, for example, you're not going to be able to use your regular account. Although PayPal can be used worldwide, each account is country-specific. So if you have a UK PayPal account, you can only register UK addresses and UK financial information. You'll need to set up a new account. Not necessarily a big deal if you're an expat on a long-term move, but much more difficult if you're just on a short-term stay. Supreme. We're coming full circle with our last entry about things you cannot buy in South Korea. We're back to the counterfeit culture of the country and how you can't buy genuine designer streetwear brands. If you want that downtown New York skate culture vibe that you get from Supreme, then you'll have to make do with knockoffs. The bonus is that you'll save a pretty cent, as they often cost as little as $25 on market stalls. Incredible, right? You could also consider lookalike brands such as This Is Never That and 13 Month. We're wondering what you would miss most if you were living in South Korea and couldn't buy any of these things we featured in our video. If you enjoyed this video, check out 20 things you cannot buy in North Korea. And please give this video a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching.